Welcome to Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Today on our show, I am joined by Richard Chiger. Mr. Chiger was my teacher at IS 88 back in the 70s. And in the classroom, he always taught us compassion for all. Since I can remember, he has been an animal lover, especially elephants. He has been an inspiration to me ever since then. Mr. Chiger is a retired teacher and an advocate for elephants. Stick around. I'd like to introduce him to you. Hi, Mr. Chiger. How are you?
I'm doing well, considering this COVID craziness. I'm doing well.
So I saw the newspaper article and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your advocacy, beginning with telling me about the curriculum based on endangered species and humane education that you put together.
I did that here in Fallsburg when I taught there. I found out that the state mandates humane education to be taught in every class. And of course it wasn't, and my attitudes and ideas were not exactly well accepted in the confluence of this area. This is a lot of people hunt for what they call sport. A lot of people trap. I always, from the time I was born, but I always advocated humane treatment of animals. As a matter of fact, when I first came to IS 88, somebody came running to me about a kitten that someone had hurt. And I grabbed the kitten. I remember saying, I have to leave school, But that administration, it was Dr. Cohen, do you remember her?
Yes, I do.
I got along incredibly well with her. She loved how I was with the kids and how I was, with animals. She accepted it and appreciated it. And I ran to the vet with that kitten, paid for it, and came home for somehow they took up a collection, the teachers, for that kitten. And I got this, I'd never gotten anything like it. There was an assistant principal, a guy named Mr. Intrader. I don't know if you know.
I remember him as well.
Wow, okay. He wrote this gorgeous letter for my file about humanitarianism. And I was like, wow. I mean, I didn't think anything. I just did what I thought was right. And then when I came to Fallsburg, I found a lot of anger and animosity toward what I taught. And because I said that hunting, I always made a provision. If you're hunting for food, that's your business. I can't tell you what to eat. And if you buy meat in the store, that cow or whatever was slaughtered. This deer at least lived a wild life and he was hopefully killed fast. So that's like a rationale, I don't think it's right at all. But I would say that, but I said, but if you're hunting, you hear the birds in the background?
Yes, I do.
Are they bothering you? Because
No.
I'm going into the room. I said, if you're hunting for what you call sport for fun, then that's like murder. That is absolutely, what fun is there? Question yourself, And so they did this big write-up in the paper about me and what I taught the kids, and oh my God, I got threatening phone calls. I got kids who came to school and said, I'll never forget one little girl, my neighbor thinks you're crazy. And I said, really, why? Well, it's what you said about hunting. And I said, why don't you tell your neighbor to come to school and I'll debate it in front of all the kids. I want you to understand this. They're all exposed to this mentality. And so we did a workshop. I don't remember exactly how it started, but we were able to do curriculum. And I did humane curriculum with a very heavy emphasis on endangered species. And I did mostly, my biggest concentration was on elephants, of course, and the great whales. And I put it through every area of the curriculum. I had a math learning station for 6th grade on elephants, where it was measurement and measurement conversion and all kinds of math problems, where it's instead of saying like 2 into 140 is 70, right? It would be different. It was how many elephants have to die to get 140 tusks, you know, when there are 2 tusks per elephant? And the answer is 70. So it makes the math so much more meaningful. And then I introduced them to elephants I knew. It was a lot of fun. And I did learning stations about elephants and other animals too, in social studies and science. We wrote letters to Congress about, you know, humane treatment of animals. We wrote letters against the leg hole trap, you know. So I used the subject area where they would learn letter writing, they would learn grammar, they would learn the skills of writing, but doing this as the subject area. Do you know what I mean?
That's a great idea.
Year, you know, I have a background in drama. I don't remember if you were in my drama class or not, but I taught drama in IS 88 in 8th grade for a few years. And what I did was we did improvisations with a theme. It was an animal theme. And the kids took their improvisation, worked on it, wrote it into a script, put scenery in it, costumes, and I had one like The Hunter's Dream, where a hunter ends up having his head on a wall. It's funny, I remember this, it's so long ago. The Most Misunderstood Mammal, which was about wolves. And the kids loved it, and kids would come out of my class and parents would laugh and say, you know, I was gonna get a fur coat, but my kid won't let me.
That's awesome.
Oh, I got myself into a lot of trouble with that. It would take a long time to be typed. I don't care. And then with the whales, we put the learning about the whales in every subject area. And I remember with the art teacher, who was a doll and who had a heart made out of gold, Maura Pellegrino, she was a doll. She had each one of my classes design a biologically correct whale that they would see in the North Atlantic here. And, excuse me, and they would make it out of paper mache and chicken wire and paint it correct and everything, and then use mathematical scaling. So they would draw, you know, like an inch was a foot or something, you know, something like that. And I had every class go on a whale watch for 9 years. I took them, we raised money, I took them to Cape Cod overnight. We saw many, many things, but we all went on the ocean to see the whales, and it was fabulous. The problem was the administration hated it. As much as Dr. Cohen loved me for what I did, they didn't love me, man. They didn't like me at all, because I went against their ideas of what education is. You know, it wasn't anti-animal, but it was, you know, open your book to page 10, read to page 20, and answer the questions on page 21. That's not what education should be.
Well, I think that is the great thing that I think that being in your class and other kids being in your class that we loved about you, that you were kind of innovative at that time with your teaching methods. And we appreciated that because that helped us to learn a lot better than that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm going to have to say that I want to thank you for being on the show. And I want to have you back. So
my pleasure. Anytime, sweetheart. Anytime.
I want to hear about other things. So the next show, I think that we'll have you back and talk some more.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Really love you. Take care. Bye-bye now.
That's all for today's episode of Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Thanks for listening, and join us again next week. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and check out our blog. Remember, if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.